Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Huck. Today I am doing my May predictions, which is like kind of like a TBR, but not exactly, because I'm not saying like I'm definitely gonna read this, but it's more like me predicting or trying to predict what I'm gonna want to read in the month of May. I know this video is coming out a little bit late, but my finals just ended for the semester, so now I have time to make videos. So let's just get into the books that I'm thinking I will want to read in May. First up is actually a book that I have already read, but it was on my list of predictions, so I'm going to include it, which is Torn by Rowena Miller. This follows a girl named Sophie who is a seamstress, and she is also a charm caster. So she is able to sew charms into the clothing that she makes. She's trying to make a name for herself as a dressmaker and a charm caster for the nobility. But her brother is a revolutionary, and he is trying to lead a revolution against the nobility in the city that they live in. So while Sophie is beginning to build her business, her brother is stirring up trouble and starting revolution. But then her brother gets kidnapped. She receives an ultimatum that either she sews a curse into the queen's gown or her brother dies. So then Sophie must decide, where do her loyalties lie? Does she believe in revolution or not? What is she going to do? So this is one, as I said, I have already read and will be in my May wrap-up. Next up, I have A Gathering of Shadows and A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. These are the next two books in her Shades of Magic series. I read A Darker Shade of Magic in April, and now I'm really excited to start the series again. I was kind of holding off until the end of the semester, but now the semester is over and I can just dive into these books, get totally sucked in, and just like dedicate my whole life, all of my time, to reading these. So I'm really excited about these ones. I'm not necessarily going to do synopses for these because these are the second two books in the series, but the first book, A Darker Shade of Magic, takes place in London. There are actually 4 parallel Londons: Red London, which has lots of magic; Grey London, which has 0 magic; White London, which is being destroyed by magic; and Black London, which has already been destroyed by magic. You used to be able to travel between the worlds, but now those doors have been closed to protect everyone from what happened to Black London. But the only people who are still able to travel between the worlds are the Antari, who are blood magicians, because blood magic is the only kind of magic that can travel between worlds without doors. So one of our two main characters, Kel, is an Antari, so he is able to travel between the worlds. He works for the royalty in Red London as a messenger. He brings messages back and forth between the different Londons just so they can keep communication between them. But he is also a smuggler on the side, and eventually he gets himself in over his head and gets into trouble, which is really what starts off the whole story of this series. He also eventually connects with our other main character, Delilah Bard, who is a thief and aspiring pirate. She is hoping to steal enough money to eventually buy her own ship and sail away. But she gets sucked into this plot of what has happened to Kel, and the two of them are off on an adventure trying to right the wrongs that have come from Kel's smuggling. I really enjoyed the first book and it totally sucked me in and I was super into it, so I'm really excited to read the next 2 books in the series. But I probably will not be reading them back to back because these are kind of intense books and I don't know if I can handle like reading this much in this world, in this story, all at once. So I might have to break it up, read one, read a book or 2 in between, and then read the next one. The next prediction that I have is Wizard of the Grove by Tanya Huff. This is actually a bind-up of 2 books, which are Book 1, Child of the Grove, and Book 2, The Last Wizard. So this is both of them in one, and I've had this book on my shelf for like over a year now. So I finally want to get into it. I think that it's a fairly classic, like chosen one prophecy type storyline. It takes place in a world where there used to be lots of wizards, but all of the wizards have now disappeared or like ascended or something, except for this one wizard that is evil and wants to take over the world. But there's a prophecy that one more wizard will be born into the world, and that wizard will be able to defeat the evil wizard and save everyone and the world. At least I think that's what it's about. So I know that the whole like chosen one prophecy kind of trope is really done a lot, but I don't really mind it as long as it's done well. So hopefully it's done well in this one. I'm looking forward to it. Part of why I picked it up was the cover, because it has kind of like a naturey vibe to the cover, and it's called Wizard of the Grove. So I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of trees and nature in this book. That's really what I want out of it. I just want more trees in the books that I read. Is that too much to ask? Like, just put trees in books and I'll be happy. So I'm really hoping that this has good like nature vibes to the magic. And my last prediction is Flame of Seven Waters by Juliet Marillier. This is the final book in her Seven Waters series. I've been rereading this whole series and loving it. This is one of my favorite series of all time. Juliet Marillier is one of my favorite authors. If you don't know by now, I mention her in like almost every single one of my videos because I love her books so much. This is a newer one since it's the last in the series, so I've only actually read this one once before, I think. So I don't remember it that well. I just remember that it has dogs in it, and I mostly remember that because there are pictures of dogs on the cover. So that might be more, I remember it because there are certain clues and not because I have a good memory. I should probably tell you what this book is actually about. This series is a historical Celtic fantasy that follows a family through the generations. Each book has a different protagonist. It follows different women in this family through the generations. So the first book is about one woman, the next book is about her daughter, the next one I think is about like her niece. So it just follows this one family. This family has a real connection to the place that they live, which is Seven Waters, and a connection to the forest there and the magical fair folk who live in the forest. They kind of have a symbiotic relationship with the fair folk where they protect the forest that the fair folk live in, and the fair folk protect the people of Seven Waters from outsiders and intruders or people who mean them harm. This one, I believe, follows Maeve, who is one of the daughters from Seven Waters. She actually didn't grow up her whole life in Seven Waters because she was severely injured in a fire when she was very young, and she was sent off to live with her aunt who lives in another country because her aunt is a really great healer, and so they were hoping that she would be able to help Maeve recover from these burns. But she finally returns to Seven Waters, and this is kind of about her coming back home, back to her immediate family and the home that she grew up in for a very short period of her life. So I'm really excited to read this one. I've just been loving rereading this whole series. It just warms my heart, so this one I'm super pumped about. So that is all for my May reading predictions. Let me know in the comments either what some of your predictions are for what you're gonna read in May, or if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye!